Hi everyone, thanks for joining us. I'm here with SocialFlow CEO Jim Anderson, and we're here to talk about Facebook and particularly how media companies and their reach on Facebook. We've done a deep data dive looking at the last year, I believe,
right.
How media companies are performing on Facebook. And this, of course, follows the allegations a couple of weeks ago that the Gizmodo article, which claimed that Facebook was suppressing conservative content, which we, of course, found out that they weren't, which made a lot of headlines as well. So now we decided to go a little deeper into the data and talk about what we found, Jim.
Yeah, Mark. So we analyzed 3,000 or so Facebook pages and what their publishing had done and the reach per post over the past year.
Okay, and so what did it show?
Yeah, so first off, let's define reach. I mean, reach is a Facebook metric. It roughly correlates to impressions here. You see this number in January of this year. That means essentially every man, woman, and child on the planet would have seen a piece of content about 6 times that was published by SocialFlow.
Okay, so all looks healthy. This is going the way you want it to go. Talk about the leveling off here.
Yeah, so we saw that starting in February. We saw the reach sort of dip and then plateau, and it's been relatively flat since that time. And that correlates to some sort of notations and things you've heard from people anecdotally that their reach was not what it had been before.
Okay, so what do we find out about reach?
Well, so if you really want to understand what's going on, you've actually got to go and look and say, okay, that was the reach we got, 42 billion back in January. But how many posts did it take to actually get that reach? Sort of what's the oomph for each post that you get?
Right.
And you see the data right here in terms of this is the number of posts posted through SocialFlow over time.
Okay, so again, looks good for everybody. It looks good for media companies. Posts are going up.
This is fantastic. It certainly looks good for SocialFlow. This shows our growth as a company, among other things. Again,
right.
We continue to sign up new customers. We already have more than half of the world's media companies publishing through SocialFlow. So what this shows is SocialFlow is doing great, and also our clients are doing well too. They're publishing more and more content through SocialFlow.
Right, but there's a but.
There is a but, and that's what this next slide reveals. So if you essentially take a reach and you divide by the number of posts, you get the reach per post.
Okay, so stop. Say that one more time.
Yeah, overall reach, that 42 billion number that we talked about,
right.
Then divided by the number of posts. How many posts did it take to get you that reach?
Okay.
That's what this is showing right here.
Okay, so this doesn't look so hot. Let's talk about that.
Right, yeah, so that's the decline that I think is most notable here. What we see is back in January, again, remember that 42 billion number, that correlated to every single post was getting close to 120,000 reach. It's essentially like impressions per views per post. And now we're down to somewhere in the range of 70,000 in just the span of about 5 months.
So how bad?
Well, that's if you do the arithmetic on that, that's a 42% drop in reach from January through May.
Okay, so let's pretend this is Monday morning. I've just woken up and I've seen this on whatever device I use, and I'm a media company. I'm probably not thrilled. What do you think? What are you thinking, and what can you do?
Well, so there's a couple of things going on. So number one, this is evidence in part of Facebook's algorithmic changes, right? People talk about the Facebook algorithms. Facebook is constantly adjusting its algorithms up and down to try to tune the user experience and the type of content that they want to surface to the users. And so what we're seeing is, back in the fourth quarter and on through January, media companies were doing phenomenally well, again, in part because the algorithms were surfacing the media content. Facebook made some changes, and that started to taper off, and it looks like they've probably continued to make changes to try to tune that. But to your question about what do I do, well, the first thing you need to do is understand whether your data matches this. Again, this is an average of about 3,000 separate Facebook pages, so it's entirely possible that your posts don't necessarily mirror this pattern.
So if you're bucking this trend, and this isn't happening to you, you should obviously be thrilled to bits. But if you're part of, this is a median number, if you're part of that number, is there anything you can do to change it?
Well, there may very well be, and again, there's no silver bullet that applies to everybody. But what you want to do is some experimentation, which you probably are already doing, about the types of content, your posting frequency. Are you using things like live video, like we're doing right now? Are you using video in general? Are you heavy on image posts? Those types of things. Again, Facebook's algorithms are constantly being adjusted and tweaked, and what performs well with your audience is something that you, as a media company, as a media property, are going to have to determine.
But why would Facebook, for instance, if they see this, and they will see this, wouldn't they in essence, just turn the spigot back on and we all go back up again?
Well, I don't think it's as simple as turning the spigot back on and off. I mean, again, you're talking about 1.6 billion people, and I don't know how many trillion pieces of content over whatever period of time we're talking about. So it's quite a complex system. I don't think it's as simple as turning it on or off. Really, what Facebook is trying to do is solve for the user experience. So they win when users continue to come back to Facebook, find it valuable, consume and interact with content, and share it with their friends. That's what Facebook is trying to do. And media content is a critical component of Facebook, but it's not the only component.
So if you're Donald Trump or you're a Donald Trump supporter, you can at least feel good that all content, all professional media content is declining. It's not just Trump, it's not just Bernie, it's pretty much everybody across the board.
Well, again, on average, when you look at across all of the posts going through, and more than 500,000 posts in the month of May, we certainly do see that 42% decline. Yeah,
which that should make Congress feel a little bit better. It's affecting everybody.
It is certainly affecting everybody.
All right. So what's next? What can we sort out?
Yeah, like most good research projects, you come up with as many questions as you do answers. Right? There's a lot of things that are surfaced here, but there's also a lot of questions, and these are some of the things that we're talking about analyzing as we move forward here. How does the size of the page? Is it small pages, large pages? Are they feeling the impact the same way? I don't know that answer, so we need to do some further analysis of these posts. What about the type of media company? Do magazine media companies, TV companies, radio companies, are their posts all feeling this the same way? Again, something that we need to analyze, and we will analyze. The types of posts, I mentioned Facebook Live versus photo posts. Those will perform different as well. And then last, the type of content. Is content about automotive or politics or business or careers performing differently? And we classify the content that goes through SocialFlow as well, so that you can start to get a sense of the types of content and how that may be affected as well.
But in summing this up, so you can at least, if your social reach is going down, you can feel okay because it's happening to everybody. If your numbers are staying the same right now, you should be celebrating like mad and saying, whatever we're doing, just keep doing it.
You're definitely bucking the trend. If you're doing well right now in the decline of an overall, in light of an overall decline in reach, then you should absolutely celebrate and think you're doing very, very well.
Thank you very much, Jim. I appreciate it. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. We'll see you next week, probably the same time.